Alright, boys, in today's video I'm going to be covering team building in Honkai Star Rail, how to go about it, what's important to consider, what are some things you have to think about when making one, where do you start on team building, where do you want to end, what are some really big must do's, what are some big must not do's or like don't do's. So yeah, let's get started. The first thing when making a team is you want to pick a main DPS for your team, right? Okay, yes, okay, I thought the team slot was empty. Right, so let's say I pick Danheng, okay? Everyone has access to Danheng, so I'm gonna be using him because it's easy to explain. Right, now let's go to his details. Let's add him first, okay? Let's go to his details, okay? Because before making a team, we want to understand him, all right? Let's look at his skills, okay? Let's look at his actual, first skill. It deals wind damage, a lot of damage, and when he crits, he reduces the enemy's speed. Right, this is very important, okay? His skill is very good. Because he is our main DPS, we always want to be able to use his skill over his basic attack, right? This is a lot less damage than this, okay? So we never want to be basic attacking. We always want to be using skills, okay? So when you think about team building, the first thing is main DPS and skill point distribution, okay? You start with 3 skill points unless you have something like Natasha, like the set I have on Natasha, the relic set, that gives you at the start of the battle immediately regenerates 1 skill point, which makes you start with 4. But for the most part, you're always going to start with 3 points, okay? That's the baseline. You generate skill points obviously by doing basic attacks, and then you use them by using skills. The skill point cost of this skill is 1 star, okay? One singular skill point, like most skills in the game. So we know that every time he's going to be on the field and it's our turn to use his abilities, we're always going to be using a skill point or doing his ultimate, or, well, we're doing both most of the time. So that's very important to keep in mind, okay? Because you can't have a team full of units that all want to eat up skill points. You want to have units that there's a balance. You want to have units that are prioritized with skill points and some that work without skill points, okay? And that's a very, very important part. So if our main DPS, he's always going to be using his skill and his ultimate because that's very important, okay? We don't basic attack with him unless there is really like a situation where we had to change up our skill point and normal attack rotation on our team and end up using his basic attack because we didn't have any skill points. But that is something that shouldn't happen most of the time. Right, now let's look at his talent. His talent is when he is the target of an ally's ability, he penetrates 23% of the wind res of the enemy on his next attack. Right, this can be triggered again after 2 turns, okay? So he uses it, like let's say you get buffed, his next attack works, and then in 2 turns you can do it again. Right, so effectively it's 3 turns. Effectively it's 3 turns because the turn you get buffed, you already use the attack, so that turn you can't get buffed again, obviously, because you've already been buffed. And then 2 turns wait, and you get buffed again. That's what you want to do in an optimal case scenario, okay? So if we use, like, let's say we use March 7th, right, and we use her skill to shield him, that's an ally targeting him, he gets that buff, okay? But we don't want to do this because we don't want to shield him every 3 turns, because he, when everything goes well, he shouldn't be the one taking most of the damage here, okay? So when we look at supports that we have available here, at least on my account, Tingyun is a perfect option because what she does is she gives him her skill grants a single ally with benediction to increase their attack by 27%, right, and then up to 60% of the her current attack. When the ally with benediction attacks, they will deal additional lightning damage, right, and it lasts 3 turns. Okay, it's a damage buff. And it lasts 3 turns. So you cast it once, and then she doesn't have to use skill points again, okay? You cast it once, and you do 3 normal attacks with her after. Or 2 if he outspeeds, but she's really fast, so usually you'll be able to get 3 off. So you do 3, so this costs 1 skill point, but you generate 3 again, okay? So that's what you want to think about, okay? She costs you 1 every 3 turns. She's able to proc your main DPS's passive. I'm going to use some other examples too, but I'm going to be like less intricate about those. She procs his passive every time you use a skill, and then she also generates the skill points for him to use, okay? You start with 3, you use 1 for him, you use 1 for her. She gets you 3 again every time you want to use a skill, so this is practically free, okay? So you technically now have playing room with 2 skill points, and optimally you have 1 that can use them every now and then, and 1 that only basic attacks, right? So if we go to this website over here, that if I don't forget, I will link. We have him as our main damage dealer, okay? This also will tell you how many actions per battle you can do, how much energy cost. His is really low, by the way. 100 is really low. You can typically ult like 4 to 5 times of him in your like average rotation for skill points. So it's really, really strong. That's why Dan Heng is also really, really beast. But yeah, we have Dan Heng, right? Now we've put Ting in our team, okay? Let's put Ting in our team. She's a support. She has a higher energy cost, whatever. She has more speed than him, right? So she'll always be doing the basic attack before him, which means that she always will generate the skill point for him to use as a skill. And then she always buffs him every 3 turns, and that's also really perfect. Okay, now next up, we want to be able to stay alive. We need a healer of some sort or someone that can shield, okay? Now this role could be fulfilled by someone like Gepard, right? That can shield. Someone like Bailu, who has crazy amounts of heals. Or Natasha, who is given to you for free. So I'm going to be using her as an example too. Because I'm using her, I don't have Bailu. Natasha is really solid for healing. And what makes her really good is if, obviously, this is something that most free-to players won't be able to achieve right now. But in the future, over the course of time, you probably will. And that's if you get her Eidolon 6, okay? They know how people are supposed to play her, okay? For Eidolon 6, now I don't have it yet, but Natasha's basic attack deals additional physical damage equal to 40% of her max HP. Really strong for her, okay? Because they know you don't want to be using her skill. Her skill isn't good. Her skill heal isn't good. That's something that you want to do. That's like an emergency, okay? You like practically never want to do this, okay? So, you get this. And then you only basic attack with her, and you ult whenever it's available, so you can heal up to full, okay? And you want to build around her ultimate, okay? So this is someone that doesn't use any skill points on your team, only in emergencies, and can heal you, okay? So now you have your damage sorted, you have your heals sorted, you have your main DPS support sorted, so he can do more damage and kill enemies quicker. And now for the last slot, there's a lot of stuff you can do. You could be putting a tank, okay? You could be putting the main character Fire, because they are really strong at tanking, right? They're the only character in the game with like a really good taunt that like is an actual taunt. Like there's stuff like Gepard where he's able to be like he is more likely to get hit, but it's just a slight chance. It doesn't like it's not effective enough, I feel like. And then you have stuff like where is he? Like Yan Qing, who has the opposite, right? He's less likely to be hit, which on his data has the same thing. Which I think these like I wouldn't count these necessarily, right? So now you could put these, but the thing is we have skill points available. We have skill points left over. She generates the skill points for him pretty much. So we still have like two, like I said, like 2 skill points playing room, right? Let's say we have one that's only for that's for an emergency here, but she'll usually generate this one herself over the course of the battle, right? If you basic attack once, then you have to think about it like her next skill is free because she generated it for herself. And you're gonna be basic attack with her more often than not. So she practically has no cost. So you still have this like 1 to 2 playing room on skill points. So you could use someone that uses skill points like the Trailblazer Fire because you want to use a skill to taunt every time. Or you could use someone like Veld. Now Veld is really good because what he does is he helps your main DPS as well. Okay, someone like Pella would also really work. Someone like Herda would also really work. These characters don't have to use skill points. They can, and they'll be good when they use skill points. But most of their stuff triggers on their normal attacks. Because let's say we look at Pella's skills over here. Her talent makes it so when you when she debuffs someone, when she attacks someone that is debuffed, she restores extra energy, so she can get her ultimate quicker, and her ultimate makes it so enemies take more damage. Her ultimate doesn't cost skill points; it's obviously just an ultimate that you need the energy cost for. 110 is not that high, and you can generate it like pretty quickly. It lasts 2 turns, and it makes you do crazy amounts of damage to the enemy, right? And her skill is bad, right? It's not bad, but most of the time you won't be using her skill. You can use it every now and then to like remove buffs, but for the most part you're just going to be using her basic attack. Okay, her basic attack, once they're debuffed, right, which they tend to be because you have shock, you have wind shear, you have all sorts of debuffs on them, will generate her ultimate, and then her ultimate will do this, right? So she's also only generating skill points, so technically your Natasha could be healing more if you really want to. And then she also covers a different element, right? So you have more elements to break. And her technique is broken too. Her technique is absolutely broken. This is like a Pella specific thing. But her technique makes it so she attacks and then all enemies' defense is lowered by 20% for 2 turns. So you can like nuke people. You can do crazy damage. She's really, really good unit. Really, really good sub DPS on a team. Someone else you could use would be Servo. Servo is a really good sub DPS too, because their talent makes it so after Servo attacks, deals additional lightning damage equal to 36% of Servo's attack to all shocked enemies. Right? We already have Tingyun, who's applying shock with her normal attacks and the skills and like giving lightning damage to your main DPS. So she will be triggering that a lot, and her base attack is good because it's going to be doing AoE damage, it's going to be spraying the damage. You don't really care about her skill, but again, you can use her skill because you have the skill points, so you can guarantee this shock, not guarantee, but you have a really good chance to shock all enemies. And then again, it's 2 turns, so you just basic attack the next 2 turns. You don't have to reuse your skill points, and you keep generating skill points for your main DPS to use every single time he gets to attack. So that's your optimal setup for your main DPS. And then her technique isn't that good. We're not going to talk about her technique, right? Her does the same thing, right? She is she does follow-up attacks when someone else is low. Someone like Himeko would be really good too. She does the same thing when you break someone's shield. She sends out her drone that does extra damage. Characters that are like, let's say Clara, right? Clara, you don't need to use her skill really. All you need to do is basic attack and ultimate, okay? If anyone gets hit, she does her counter. If she gets hit before, she gets she does the physical damage counter too, and she'll just be doing this like insane DPS without using any skill points and just sitting on your team. So that's what the idea for team building is. Okay, I'm gonna put Clara here because why not? Let's put Veld here. Okay, I don't think I talked about Veld. Veld, if you do have him, by the way, just like a specific example here, his skill slows. This whole thing is about slowing, right? His technique is really broken. It reduces their speed as well. And if we go back to this guy, it's his talent ultimate. His ultimate. If they slowed, he does way more damage. He does way more damage if they're slowed on his ultimate, right? So that's really important because Tingyun also will make sure that he can ult more often with her own ultimate, right? That she can generate pretty quickly. Yeah, she regenerates 50 energy for a single ally, which is half of his ult gauge, by the way, and then does 23% more damage. Okay, but that was one team. Okay, but you get the idea. You pick your main DPS, you pick someone that has good synergy with him, that can support him, that can generate the skill points for him. You pick someone that helps you survive, and then you pick someone that is a sub DPS or a tank. Because a tank will help you, well, just survive as well, right? And more survivability is good. Your main DPS can cook harder. And then a sub DPS will help with like spreading out your damage, for example, right? AoE, maybe generating more skill points because you only do this, or using up your excess skill points, right? Oftentimes on this team, on this team right here, I'm there with 5 skill points. I don't like using Veld's skill. I don't think it's good. Me personally, it never feels like he's doing anything. So I mainly just use his ultimate and his basic attacks, right? That's why I also have this light cone on him. After using a skill, the burst next basic attack deals additional damage. So I like rarely skill. I only do the skill like once. Next basic attack will do huge damage. I ult, I basic attack again because I don't want to, like, I usually don't have skill points. And then I skill again, right? But the skill I do only like at the start of a wave. I won't repeat it, okay? So this like light cone will just help me like with initial burst to get rid of like 1 or 2 people, and then that's done. Right, that's my idea for like Veld, for example. But regardless, right, Veld's really huge with Danheng as well, which is why I use them here. But obviously not everyone has options to every character, so that's why like I gave multiple options here. Let's take a different team, okay? Let's say you pulled Yan Qing, okay, and you want to build a team around him, right? He's your main damage dealer. He's gonna, if you only want to skill point with this guy, okay, his entire kit revolves around using his skill point, because if you look at his skill activates Soul Steel Sync for 1 turn, and Soul Steel Sync is pretty much where he gets all his damage from. There's a lot of stuff. When Soul Steel Sync is active, he's less likely to be attacked. His crit rate increases, his crit damage increases. If he attacks, he does this little like ice flower from the top that does extra damage. And if you have his this thing, it can also be AoE when they have ice weakness, which is really strong. And he has 65% base chance to freeze, which is super strong as well. And free frozen enemies take more ice damage, right? Now the thing is, when he receives damage, right, which means his HP bar gets hit, okay? If he has a shield on, it doesn't apply. Like, he still keeps it, okay? So if his HP bar gets reduced, then he loses it, okay? And that's not good, because you want to use his skill, not get hit for 1 turn, and then use his skill ultimate or like his ultimate first, then skill, because if you have the ice set, then you want to have your crit damage increase, so you can, you know, you do more damage with the skill after the ultimate. But that's pretty much the idea that you want to have with this character, right? So what's important? Shields and taunts. So who does that the best? This character and this character, okay? And actually March 7th. March 7th is high-key a better Gepard, but I'll get to that in a second. These, right? So you want to definitely, this is one of the characters you definitely want to prioritize on this team. Okay, so March 7th, let's say March 7th, okay? March 7th can shield him. If you have 2 dupes into her, which again, I'm one of, on the second one, when she shields someone, upon entering battle, she shields someone else, okay? With the lowest HP percentage, okay? So if you can somehow hurt him, that'd be good. But in general, it's a 1 in 3 chance that she buffs someone, that she shields someone randomly, and if it's him, really huge. If not, she can still shield him. Now the slight issue with her is that if he's low HP and you shield him, which he shouldn't be to begin with, so it won't happen often, he's more likely to be targeted. But then you also have his own like ability here. Which one is it? Okay, I forgot. Well, he's less likely to be targeted in general. So that's good. Oh yeah, it's when Soul Steel Sync is active, sorry. So that's good, right? That works well. Huge shield too. Like her shield is huge. So that's really good, okay? Now Trailblazer Fire, taunt. Very self-explanatory, but some enemies do dish out these AoEs, and the shield that Trailblazer Fire provides most of the time isn't enough to block these. So he will be taking damage. But if you're gonna bring out someone that you know is only doing single targets, this will be his best partner. And then Gepard is just puts up really huge AoE shields, and he has that slight increased chance to be hit, so he's going to be really good too, for this sake. Yeah, that's pretty much it. He's going to shield everyone, so everyone can survive AoEs. He's more likely to get hit after you use his skill. He's less likely to get hit. You see the synergy. So this is a huge synergy too. If I pull Gepard, if I end up pulling Gepard, I probably replace the Fire MC on my team, as much as I like him, because the Fire MC is really good. You use a skill when you know the enemy's doing single targets. When they're doing AoEs, or you want to like do more damage, his basic attack is really strong, because you build up the basic attack with the magma rolls, everything. I don't think I have to explain my MC. Really good, right? Really good for team building, because he doesn't eat skill points that much. Well, you want to taunt every turn, but he's slow. So you'll have them generated by the time he's back anyway, and then he generates skill points with a basic attack that does huge damage. And his ult's really good too. So he's just the best of both worlds. But again, let's say Gepard, okay? Then okay, now you have protection, you have a huge damage dealer. What else can you do? A sub DPS, Himeko. Okay, let's only put 5 stars. Why not, bro? Himeko, every time you break someone, it's going to be doing her little like robot thing, and it's going to do AoE shred damage, which obviously is single target, so having a bit of AoE is really good. Okay, you can go to the DPS rankings and then check who's really good, who's going to be a really good 3 target damage dealer. And you see Himiko's really good, Claire's really good, right? Serval's really good, the Trailblazer is really good too, Sampo's really good, he debuffs well as well. So when you go back here, you could put on, like, instead of her, you could put on Sampo, right? You could put on Sampo. He's really good sub DPS. She's also really good sub DPS, by the way. Let's just put it like this. Really good sub DPS that you could put on your team, right? You could put Claire on your team as a sub DPS. It will work too. You could put the Trailblazer physical character on your team as a sub DPS. Now, the issue of him is he always wants to use skill points, but Gepard's skill sucks. So he's actually never going to use his skill, but you're still going to have access to shields through his ultimate. So that's good. And then you're like, okay, the last slot, let's just have someone that can help Yanqing further without using skill points. And then again, we have the same thing with like Pella's going to be really good. Herda is going to be a really good sub DPS too. And then you could just run Natasha again if you want heals as well, because you probably need them, because since Gepard doesn't have any other defensive utility. And yeah, mainly just main DPS, pick someone that can help him, a healer / protective unit, which we already have here, and then a sub DPS that doesn't require skill points but could use them if you have excess ones. That's pretty much the idea, right? So you could use this guy, you could use Tingyun again, right? Tingyun really good with Yanqing. I used them together for like the longest time. And then you have Sampo as your sub DPS. Boom, team sorted. But yeah, there's many synergies that you have to like look out for. If you have dupes on your character, right, like stuff changes. Like if let's say you have this dupe, right, all this, right, like, you could build a counter comp. Let's say you want to build a comp around Clara, okay, right, she's your main DPS, okay, and then what you can do is you run Gepard because he puts on shields, and you put March 7 on the team because she also provides shields, and she also counters. She has her counter attacks when someone's shielded. So you have her counter, and then you can just run something like Asta to speed up again, so you can like generate Gepard's ult quicker or something, right? Same thing. Same thing with Yanqing, by the way. Asta's really good with Yanqing because he wants to move fast and multiple times. So speed really good for him. Solid, right? So you could run like this as a team. This would work, right? Or this as a team, right? If you don't have options to all of these. Again, there's infinite options, right? Like this could be a good team. All right, a lot of options, right? But pretty much main DPS, sub DPS, utility, support. That's what you want. Defensive, healer, something, right? Something along those lines, and you're chilling. That's pretty much the idea of team building. I hope this video is helpful. If you have, like, if you have your account has specific units and stuff, and you're looking to make a team, and you can't figure it out, you can like drop your units in the comments, and I can probably help you make a team. But it's pretty straightforward. It took me a while to figure out. Obviously, light cone synergies and everything are important too, right? Like on him, I have like his own light cone, the 4-star one though, that makes it so he's faster and he does more damage. But if he takes damage, the effect he loses the effect until next turn, right? But it works so well with his kit that if you get hit, you're not going to do damage anyway. So this is fine. This works well. And on him, I have okay, because I'm not using Zeta right now. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, subscribe for more. Like before you leave. That's gonna be it for the video. If you need help, let me know. Good job.